When I'm looking for an Agile Project Manager, I'm looking for everything I'm looking for in a project manager, but I'm also looking for very much servant leadership. I'm looking for somebody who has enough confidence in what they're doing, but a willingness to suppress their ego for the betterment of the team. They'll have to have a basic understanding of the Agile concepts and principles, but I'll also be looking for them to be able to express that relative to the situation that we have at this point in time. So for example, in some organisations, I'll be looking for people who understand Kanban, or in other organisations, I'll be looking for Scrum experts. But it's really about the basic understanding of the principles that underpin Agile and what does that mean. The red flags I look for when I'm interviewing somebody are all around relationship skills and their ability to learn. If people are saying they're not learning or they're not reading anything new, then that's a red flag to me. If they're unwilling to answer a tricky question, particularly one that's related to relationships, or if they get short-tempered with regard to direct questioning, then that's a red flag to me. There's a lot of provocative questions we may push in there just to see how people deal with those. Obviously, it's very different in context from an interview than it is from a working situation, but I'm looking for those sort of red flags. The skills that I view as essential to being a successful project manager are around ability to develop and ability to work with change. The technical skills and the domain expertise are things that will change over time, but your willingness to learn and your adaptability is important. Also, your ability to create relationships. In testing for these skills, it's not easy. The testing about what you're learning, how broad your understanding is of the business context, that can be done with a few good questions. In terms of relationship skills, I'm looking for them to be able to tell me stories about relationships that they've built. Ideally situations where they've carried a relationship on for a number of years. Examples of mentoring, where they've been a mentor or mentored by people for a number of years, across organisations are also important, because that gives me a good understanding of their ability to create a lasting relationship. So qualifications, in my mind, are far less important than actual hands-on experience. And also, more importantly, it's about the process that you go through to learn. If you're only going to do learning when your employer pays for a certification, that probably doesn't go towards a growth mindset. I'm looking for somebody who can show evidence of learning, and that's where I'll always be looking for you to be able to describe a situation where you were learning, why did you start on that learning journey, and what was the outcome along the way. In terms of in-demand roles in the next period of time, I think we're going to see a continuation of the demand for people who can truly run and lead Agile projects. Lead as opposed to manage. There's a lot of managers out there who can run a process, but leaders understand what's holding the team back and work to remove those blockers. They take the lead when required, but at other stages they enable the team to lead well. In terms of other roles, the data scientists and integration developers, there'll be a massive ongoing demand for those. We've only just started to see the explosion of data, and being able to draw sense from that is going to be incredibly powerful. In terms of core skills for people who are going to grow into project management, the one that I look for is that ability to become a servant leader and understanding of what that means. It means being able to facilitate your team achieving their goals, and that means doing a number of different things along the way to remove blockers from that team. It probably means that they're going to be confident, but they're willing to set aside their own opinions to be able to benefit the team. We talk a lot about strong opinions loosely held. They must be passionate. They've got to have that willingness to commit to something, but at the same time they've also got to be willing, when they're shown better data, to change their opinion and to move and not to hold those opinions. If you're a hiring manager, how do you actually find the talent that's going to work for you in a digital age? As I've said, it's all about hiring for ability to develop. So ask those questions about learning, understanding. How have they done things? How have they learned? If you're recruiting for graduates, what have they done while they're doing their degree? That's probably the greatest source of information about how willing are they to develop themselves over time. If you've got a gem that needs polishing, first thing is to understand what area do you want them to develop? Where do you see them going? Have a talk with them about where they see themselves going so that you've got a joint understanding of the journey you're taking them on. And then work from that with that. If they're coming from a technical bias, make sure they get the opportunity to understand the business, to understand how it works. If they're coming from a more market orientation or consumer orientation, get them involved in the technology. They don't necessarily need to write code, but they do need to understand how the various parts of the technical parts of your business hang together.